Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes if you'd like to come in and find your seat. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Jamie Frazier, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm honored to welcome you to the Ethical Society of St. Louis. Whether you are a longtime member, a first-time visitor, or joining us online, we are glad you are here. At the Ethical Society, we believe that positive change comes from human efforts, that reason and experience guide our search for truth, and that every person possesses inherent dignity and worth. Each Sunday, we come together to learn, reflect, and strengthen the relationships and understandings that help us live those values in everyday life. This morning, we'll explore the lifelong journey of becoming. Through Katera's original music that reflects on identity, resilience, and transformation, and Dr. Brian Carpenter's insights into brain health across the lifespan, we're invited to consider how the choices we make each day shape our capacity to learn, adapt, and flourish. As we begin our platform, please take a moment to silence your devices so we can be fully present with one another. Thank you. Our musician this morning is Katera, a St. Louis singer-songwriter whose soulful music explores resilience, healing, and personal transformation. Through honest songwriting and powerful performances, she invites listeners to embrace vulnerability while discovering their own strength. She'll begin this morning with Don't You Dare Speak, a song that reflects on finding your voice, honoring your truth, and setting healthy boundaries. Please help me welcome Katera.
Hi, everyone. I'm very honored to be back here. I'm honored every time I come here because I share my soul with y'all. And got something pretty heavy today, a song that I brought out on Juneteenth. It's called Don't You Dare Speak. And so it's about the disparities of those who experience racism and those who benefit from it. And I felt it was fit for this program because race is a big part of my mental health as a Black woman existing in this world. And as an artist, I had to express what I mentally, emotionally, and spiritually go through as a Black woman. I'd like to dedicate this to everyone who had their lives taken just because of the color of their skin. Don't you dare speak on the same. Didn't ask you to explain myself to me, so don't you ever speak on my reality. Our realities are not the same. There's a different type of 3D here. Don't you ask to see what you feel. You don't know what you refuse to see, so don't you dare speak on me. You don't know me. Oh, 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 I heard a Luatoyan story. Saw myself within her eyes. They can never take away her glory, like they stole away her life. Some elders tell me to break free right now. Some elders tell me to silence my cries. Some people tell me I'm doing too much, but they don't like it when truth be too loud. Why must I ask you for basic humanity? Isn't that a basic human thing? Who is the real animal in all of this? Your reality has a soul and change, yeah. So don't you ever speak on my reality. Our realities are not the same, no. Didn't ask you to explain myself to me, so don't you ever speak on my reality. Our realities are not the same. It's a different type of 3D here. Don't you ask to see what you feel. You don't know what you refuse to see, so don't you ever speak on me. Don't you dare speak on me. Speak on me. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't own me. You don't own me. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Katera, for using your glorious talents to share such a powerful and impactful message with our community. Thank you. At the heart of congregational life is relationship. Sharing our stories helps us understand one another more deeply and discover our common humanity. This morning, we have invited Lindsay Holman, this year's Secretary of the Board of Trustees, to offer a personal reflection. Please welcome Lindsay Holman. Is Lindsay here? Okay. I apologize for that, and we do not have a backup plan in place, so we will move on. Each week, we read our youth education core values as a way to bring us together and remind us of our shared commitments. Since our youth are enjoying summer programming today, Holly Brubaker has graciously agreed to be our guest reader.
Hello, I'm Holly Brubaker, she, her, and of course I am a big kid at heart, so. Every person is important and unique. Every person deserves to be treated fairly and kindly. I can learn from everyone. I am a part of this earth. I cherish it and all life upon it. I learn from the world around me by using my senses, mind, and feelings. I am a member of the world community, which depends on the cooperation of all people for peace and justice. I can learn from the past to build for the future. I am free to question. I am free to choose what I believe. I accept responsibility for my choices and actions. I strive to live my values.
Thank you, Holly. These values are more than lessons for children. They are aspirations for all of us, guiding how we learn and grow together as a community. And one of the clearest ways those values come to life is when people choose to make this community their own. Today, we're delighted to welcome our newest members. Please welcome Membership Team Chair Samantha White to introduce them.
Good morning, friends. My name is Samantha White. My pronouns are she and her, and as you heard, I'm the membership team chair. I'm here to introduce our amazing new community members from the month of June. Please hold your applause until the end so we can celebrate everyone at once. And I don't actually know if any of the new members are here today, but if you are and are willing to stand, please do so when I say your name. Kelsey Bergman, she, her. Kelsey is a transplant from Ohio, currently living in Tower Grove South with her partner Alex and dog Vader. She enjoys St. Louis City soccer, baking, and experimenting with scone flavors. And Kelsey, I'm happy to be your taste tester. And she loves reading a good book. She works in community health and is passionate about reproductive and social rights and is a frequent volunteer, so she fits in well here. She is also a member and treasurer of Actually ASPEC and joined the Ethical Society to find a community of activists who want to continually learn and improve the world. Brian Maynard, he, him. Brian is joining the society to find community and cool people to hang out with. And if you have any software development needs, he's willing to share his expertise. And he's also interested in social events and fun activities, as well as exploring small groups and learning opportunities. Shay Prey, she, her. Shay is a facilitator with Actually ASPEC as well. It's an Ethical Society affiliate, if you don't know what it is. And she is interested in social events and fun activities, creating music through arts, and exploring small group and learning opportunities. Pito Rosario, he, him. Pito is actually a resident of New York, the Bronx specifically, and is interested in platform and speaker events, social events and fun activities, engaging in service and justice work, as well as exploring small groups and learning opportunities. Allison Zent, she, her. Allison is joining the society to find interesting and like-minded people to build community with. She is interested in social events and fun activities, as well as exploring learning opportunities in small groups. So please join me in a round of applause to help welcome our new members, Kelsey, Brian, Shay, Pito, and Allison. I'm so thrilled to welcome and to have each of you joining this fabulous community, and look forward to getting to know you better. And established members, please make sure to say hi and invite them to join you at coffee hour or sit next to you at a future platform. Thank you all.
Thank you, Samantha. To our newest members, thank you for choosing to invest your time, talents, and hearts in this community. We're glad you're here. All right, Katera now returns with Ego Death, a reflective piece about releasing old versions of ourselves and embracing the growth that comes with change.
Thank you. This next song is a heavy song as well. It's about my battle with my mental illness, and I'll be transparent for those who, you know, for political correctness, I'm talking about marijuana, nothing else, when I sing these lyrics. But as someone who was diagnosed with anxiety and complex PTSD, I tried to find my own medicinal healing, and I ended up having what's called an ego death. And this song is about that experience. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to sing to this track that I produced for the song. Yeah. Maybe I was too fly, too low. Yeah. Maybe I keep my soul afloat, really drowned in my own fears. Maybe I got too high that night. I ain't been the same way since this ego death. Yeah. I don't want nothing else to do with whoever knew my past self. Making my way through memories, got no good ones with myself. Maybe I got too high that night. I ain't been the same way since this ego death. May the sun waves dawn on me, 'cause the truth can't hold my tongue any longer than everyone on the run. Never learned to swim, so I sink within myself, watching the whole world drown around on me. And ego, and maybe I was too high, too low, too broke in my formative years. Maybe I keep my soul afloat, nearly drowned in my own fears. Maybe I got too high that night. I ain't been the same way since this ego death. I don't want nothing else to do with whoever knew my past self. Making my way through memories, only good ones with myself. Maybe I got too high, yeah. Maybe I got too high. Thank you. Also, thank you guys for allowing me to, again, just really share very personal songs from my experiences with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you again, Katera. Art is most impactful when it touches our emotion, and even when it's heavy, it's the depth of that I really appreciate myself, so thank you. All right, and before our main address, let's take a moment to arrive fully in this space and in the presence of one another, feel the emotions that we're feeling. In the midst of busy lives and competing demands, we rarely have the opportunity to simply be present with ourselves and with one another. As we share this minute of silence, I invite you to notice your breath, settle your attention, and prepare yourself to listen with both an open mind and an open heart. Thank you for sharing that moment together. And now on to our main address. Our speaker this morning is Dr. Brian Carpenter. Dr. Carpenter is a clinical psychologist, professor in the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences at Washington University in St. Louis, and is co-director of the Harvey A. Friedman Center for Aging. He earned his bachelor's degree from Williams College and his doctorate in clinical psychology from Case Western Reserve University, followed by postdoctoral fellowships at the Philadelphia Geriatric Center, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Portland VA healthcare system. His teaching, research, and clinical interests focuses on family relationships in later life, with a particular emphasis on communication among older adults, their families, and healthcare providers, especially in the areas of Alzheimer's disease and end-of-life care. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Brian Carpenter.
Thanks, Jamie. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How is the volume in the back of the room? Good? Okay. I can't see you, so I think that I saw some thumbs, though, so I'll take that as a go. Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about one of the topics that has infused my research and my teaching and my clinical practice throughout my career. I'm glad to be able to share a little bit with you this morning about technology. Okay. Let me just make sure I've got this working. Okay. So I think we probably all agree that your brain is an amazing thing. We spend a lot of time thinking about a lot of the other organs in our bodies and how to take care of them. We should be spending as much time, if not more, thinking about our brain. It's an incredible piece of our bodies, an incredible gift that we have. On average, it weighs about 3 pounds, which is equivalent to an average-sized cantaloupe. But it allows us to do all the things that make us human. It's responsible for our memories, for our personality, for our ability to reason and think and judge and act. It's the reason why we're able to experience the emotion that we heard from the music this morning. It's the organ that allows us to put your important core values into action. I'm telling you the obvious, but it's pretty important when it comes to ourselves. I want to start out by talking about a couple of amazing facts related to this incredible organ. So the brain, the average brain, consists of about 86 billion neurons. Those are the cells inside of the brain, which is equivalent to the number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. So huge number of cells packed into that. We believe it is the most complex thing in the universe. Those neurons, those cells, talk to each other through a series of interconnections, about 100 trillion synaptic connections that allow those cells to talk with one another. And when those cells are talking to one another, they send signals to each other that travel up to 286 miles per hour. And this is an organ that uses a lot of energy to do its work. It probably eats up about 20% of your body's energy, although it only counts for about 2% of the weight of your entire body. So there's a lot going on up there, and it takes a lot of energy to make that work. Now, the brain starts to develop very, very early in life, shortly after conception. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the changes that our brains go through throughout our lifespan as we grow older. But the good news about this brain development is that although much of it happens very, very early in our lives, that's where important development and growth happens, that our brain is relatively plastic and that it continues to grow and develop and change throughout our lives. And that's good news for all of us, because it means the steps that we take at any point in our life can have the consequence of better brain functioning. And I believe that good brain functioning is a personal responsibility, a family responsibility, and a community responsibility as well. So let me start out by talking a little bit about brain development and what that looks like, because this critical period of life early in our lives is so important. I'm going to show a picture on the screen, and I don't want you to panic when you first see that picture, because it's very complicated. But there are some very major themes that you can extract from that picture, and I'll try to guide you through it. When our brain begins developing early in life, there's a lot happening, and we front load a lot of brain development in the first 5 or 6 years of life. So that's why those first 5 years are so critical for development. There's a lot we're setting a foundation, an important foundation for the brain that we'll carry with ourselves into our adolescence, our young adulthood, our middle age, and beyond. Of course, there are some things that can promote or impede that development early in life. And here is a list of some of the factors that we understand can interfere with that important phase of development. That includes exposures prenatally. For example, when a mother is exposed to environmental toxins, or when she may ingest substances that have a negative effect on the fetus. Those negative environmental influences can exist outside when the baby is born as well. So for example, when an infant is exposed to lead-based paint or pollutants in their environment, that also can interfere with normal development and growth. Malnutrition and sleep disruption, not good for a mother, also not good for a fetus or an infant. Because our ears and our eyes are the window into the world around us, important stimuli enter a child through those channels, so that when an individual has untreated hearing or vision problems, That means it's difficult for that important stimuli to get into the child's system and brain, where the brain is using that stimuli to help itself grow and develop. So it's important for infants and young children to be screened routinely for hearing and vision deficits as early as possible. And lastly, maternal stress and neglect for a child at any point in its development can also have a negative effect on development. The flip side is that there are several factors that are associated and important for normal brain development. Those include adequate sleep and nutrition. They include exposure to language, complex language where there's a give and take between the caregivers and the child's environment and the child. Caregivers who are attentive, who are listening, who are watching, who are responsive, who pay attention to the child, see what they're doing or thinking, and respond in alignment. And then continuing that conversation, that kind of deep, rich interaction between people around the child and the child are extremely important in this early phase of development. Exploration and play, encouraging children to reach out into their environment, to connect with other people around them, to touch things, to feel things, to hear things, taste things, see things. All of those experiences are helping the brain grow and develop. And lastly, making sure that the environment in which the child is being raised is stable and predictable, gives an infant a sense of security that they can do these other things in their environment without having to worry about paying attention to their safety and their security. Okay, here's the scary picture. But again, don't panic. I'll walk you through it. This is a graph that shows how different structures in the brain change over the course of our lives. You read it from left to right, prenatal development through early childhood, adolescence, young adulthood, middle adulthood, and later life. And then each of the lines on this graph signals a different structure in the brain. So for example, one of them is our overall weight or volume of the brain. You should be noticing a couple of important things in this figure as you're reading it from left to right. In this first section that I'm highlighting, I'm pointing out lines that are upward trending very steeply, very rapidly, from the prenatal phase into about the first 5 or 6 years of life. And what that means is that those first years are extremely important because your brain is undergoing a radical transformation, radical growth, radical development. As the number of cells proliferate in the brain, the number of neurons escalates dramatically, and the connections between those neurons also are escalating rapidly. In fact, in the first 5 years of your life, your brain actually overgrows. It has probably close to double the number of neurons and connections that we have in our brains as adults. What happens at about age 5 or 6 is that there's some pruning in the brain. So that huge brain, all those connections that are developed within the first 5 years of life, they start to get pruned back based upon our experience, based upon what we're seeing, learning, doing in our environment. So there's this front loading of brain development in the first 5 or 6 years of life. We cut it back a little bit as we start to grow older. But there's a lot going on in those first 5 years. That's why that prenatal and postnatal section of development is so important, that we set the conditions right in order for that brain to develop. That's the launching pad for everything that comes next. Now, I did say that your brain continues to grow and develop, but these first 5 years, super critical. The next phase of the graph I'm highlighting here corresponds to late childhood, adolescence, and young adulthood. Here, what you might be noticing is that there is a crest in these lines, and then they gradually start to slope downward. What that means is that we probably have the most robust brain that we had the most robust brain we ever are going to have when we were in our late teens and our early 20s, at least structurally. But that's not to suggest that there isn't important development and growth going on, because we've come to understand that in the late teenage years, well into the mid, possibly even the late 20s, the connections between those cells in the brain are continuing to grow. So psychologists understand that if you think about adolescent behavior, for example, that might be consistent with what's going on in the brain. That adolescents have a really robust brain, but the connections aren't fully formed yet. So if you think about typical adolescent impulsivity, rebelliousness, poor judgment, maybe there's a neurological reason for those kinds of things. And we continue to shape and grow and develop into our 20s when we finally develop those more sophisticated reasoning skills. So there is a little bit of a diminution that begins in our 20s and continues into our 30s. But I don't want you to get discouraged by that, because that decline is very, very gradual and very, very slight. And that decline in the third section of this graph into middle adulthood and late adulthood, it continues. But again, it's very, very gradual and very, very slight, all the way up to age 100. So this is, there is change in our brain, and that change happens throughout our lifespan. Some of that change is decline, but it is relatively minor and relatively late in the lifespan. Okay. We are thinking about those changes in the brain in relation to what the brain does, its functions. And psychologists talk about several different domains of cognitive processes in the brain. And here's a list of the most common of them. They include speed of processing, how quickly can our brain function, how good, how efficient is that wiring in the brain. We're also paying attention to things like memory, attention, concentration, but also more sophisticated, abstract reasoning skills, knowledge, and insight. And the research over the last few decades has suggested that these cognitive functions, they also change over the lifespan, but they change in slightly different ways. We've come to understand that these cognitive functions or intelligences, they fall into two broad buckets. One set of those intelligences we refer to as the fluid intelligences, and another set we refer to as the crystallized intelligences. The fluid intelligences, they include things like how efficient and quick your brain is, your memory, your attention, and your concentration. They're dependent upon a really good brain. The crystallized intelligences, on the other hand, they're based on education, experience, learning, growth, development. They also depend on a good brain, but these are skills that can develop over our lifespan. So when we look at changes in these two domains, two broad buckets of cognitive functions over the lifespan, you do see decline in fluid intelligences as people grow older. So declines in memory, declines in concentration, declines in attention. Those happen. They are normal. They happen to everyone because we all have a brain, and the brain that we have when we're 75 is not the same brain we had when we were 25. And you could say the same thing about your heart, your lungs, and every other portion of your body. So you don't expect a 75-year-old lung to function as well as a 25-year-old lung. You shouldn't expect a 75-year-old brain to function as well as a 25-year-old brain either. The brain changes, and that is normal. That doesn't necessarily reflect disease. It's what happens when an organism like ours grows older. So if you have ever, let me ask for a show of hands. Has anybody ever walked into a room and couldn't remember why you walked into that room? Has anybody ever put down their car keys and couldn't remember where their car keys are? Has anybody ever met somebody and then turned around and you couldn't remember their name? This is a decline in fluid intelligence. For most people, perfectly normal. Those are things that you're going to experience as you grow older, because the brain that you have when you're older is not the same as the brain that you had when you were younger. So for most people, don't worry about that. If that happens to you, it's probably normal. I will say, though, that this other bucket of cognitive functions, the crystallized intelligences, these are the things that we think can actually improve with age, because they're based on practice, they're based on education, they're based on experience, they're based on us learning new things. So our insight, our reasoning, our judgment, those are cognitive functions that actually can improve. And older people can perform at a level equivalent to, or maybe even better than younger people, if given the right circumstances. So this is a positive sign about cognitive growth as we grow older. And it's not just memory, concentration, and attention that go down, and the reasoning, insight, judgment that go up. There's a whole host of cognitive skills that actually get better as people grow older. And here's a list of, well, this is happening because of what's going on in the brain in terms of continued growth and development, which we refer to as neuroplasticity. Over the last several decades, there's been some quite astounding research to indicate that our brain does grow. It changes its wiring. New neurons can be created. The connections within the brain strengthen, and the brain can actually move functions around in terms based upon destruction or demand. Let me give you an example of one of the earliest and most startling pieces of research that established this fact of neuroplasticity. This is a map of the city of London. And this was a research project that was conducted back in 2011. And the scientists brought in a group of people who were studying to get their taxi license in London. And in order to get your taxi license in London, you have to develop what they call the knowledge. And the knowledge basically means you have to learn all of the streets in London, because you have to be able to go wherever a taxi needs to go. So huge amount of information to learn. The scientists took about 80 people who were studying for their taxi license in London, and they scanned their brains and had them do some paper and pencil tests. And then they let them do their thing, and then they tracked them down 4 years later. Half of them had passed their license test, and they were taxi drivers in London, and about half of them had not passed the test. They brought them back in 4 years later, scanned their brains again, gave them those same paper and pencil tests, and compared those two groups. And what they discovered was that the people who had memorized, gained the knowledge, they had structures of their brain that were bigger and better functioning. And they performed better on tasks, paper and pencil, measuring their memory, attention, and concentration, compared to people who did not pass the test, who did not gain the knowledge. And when they looked at brain scans, they found substantial differences between those two groups of people, suggesting that these folks, when they were studying for this exam, were gaining knowledge, gaining information, changing the structure and function of their brain. So powerful evidence very, very early on that our brain continues to grow and continues to change. But it's not just memory, attention, and concentration that they were able to document improvements in. We've come to understand that there are a whole host of cognitive changes that happen as we grow older. And here's a list of some of them. Overall, we are better at managing our brain and managing our thoughts, paying attention to our thinking, directing it in directions that are important to us in any given situation. You are better drivers of your brain as you grow older. So positive development in our cognition. However, disease can happen. Dementia is an umbrella term that we use to describe a whole set of diseases that are reflected in loss of memory, difficulty paying attention to things, making decisions, judgments, and eventually taking care of ourselves. This is a whole suite of diseases. The most common type of dementia is Alzheimer's disease, but it's only one of several different disorders that are part of this umbrella term that we use called dementia. As I said, Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia. It becomes more common. Our risk for developing Alzheimer's disease increases as we grow older. So that if you were to take a group of 65 to 74-year-olds, about 5% of them would have Alzheimer's disease, and that percentage increases over these different age groups. If you've ever known anybody with Alzheimer's disease or experienced it in your own family, in your own life, it's a terrible disease and you would never wish it on anyone. However, I would like to point out that even later in life, while a third of people at age 85 and older have Alzheimer's disease, 2/3 do not. 2/3 do not. So it's a common misconception that Alzheimer's disease is an inevitable part of growing older, and it's not. It's a disease, like cardiovascular disease or lung disease. Not everybody gets it. Those who do, it's terrible. But the myth is that everyone will experience Alzheimer's disease, and when you forget where you put your car keys, that it might be the earliest signs of Alzheimer's disease. Not necessarily true for the majority of people. In fact, when you look at the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease, most of them are things that we can do something about. Most of them are things that we can do something about. The prevalence of Alzheimer's disease in the United States has gone down in the last few years. Why? Because we have gotten much more aggressive and much better at controlling some of these modifiable risk factors, treating people's diabetes, treating people's high cholesterol, treating people's hypertension. We've gotten better at treating those things, which has trickled down and meant that the risk for dementia, prevalence of dementia, has gone down as well. So let me wrap up by talking about some strategies for brain health. And before I do that, I want to return to a theme I started with, which is that we all have responsibility for our brain health. That's important for us to take on because the consequences of poor brain health are not just in terms of our loss of our own cognitive functioning and independence, but it radiates out into our families, into our communities as well. So we have a responsibility, I believe, to take the time to pay attention to our brain health for our own sakes, but also for other people's sake in our lives and our communities in addition. So 6 different strategies. I'm going to run through these very, very quickly, but I'm sticking around for coffee, so if you want to talk about any of them, happy to provide more details. Number 1, if I was going to write a prescription for one thing to do to help your brain, it would be physical activity. Aerobic physical activity, extremely important for preserving the health of your brain. I'm not talking about running marathons, powerlifting. I'm talking about some very basic things that each of us can put into action in our lives every day. It's never too early to start, and it's never too late to get benefits from physical activity. Number 2, good sleep hygiene. Most people need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep every night. Even if you get only 6 hours of sleep for a couple of weeks, that has a negative effect on your brain functioning. Here are some tips for good sleep hygiene. Think about the sleep you had last night. Did you do any of these things? These are the strategies that can help people get a better night's sleep. Nutrition. I'm showing you what you should be eating. This is not rocket science. We've known this for decades and decades and decades. The trick is getting people to implement these things into their diets. There's good scientific research on 3 dietary approaches. The first is the Mediterranean diet. You've probably heard about it. Concentrates on whole grains, nuts, seeds, relatively little meat in that diet. A couple of variations have shown very good promise at delaying cognitive decline and dementia. They include this DASH diet, which is focused on controlling hypertension, very similar to the Mediterranean diet, has a little bit of a different focus on the fats and oils that are in the diet, and most importantly, it sets particular benchmarks for sodium intake as its mechanism of therapeutic action. And then there's a new diet called the MIND diet, which is a combination of the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. Studies suggest that people who follow the MIND diet closely reduce their risk for developing Alzheimer's disease between 35 and 40%, so a not insignificant decline in risk. Positive engagement, keeping yourself intellectually engaged. I'm not, unfortunately, talking about crossword puzzles and Sudoku. They're probably not going to hurt you, but they're not going to give you a lot of bang for the buck. I'm talking about learning a new language, learning to play a new musical instrument, something that is really pushing your brain to try something new. That's the kind. It needs to be difficult. It needs to be intellectually difficult. That's what's going to push your brain to grow. Social connections. We've come to understand that being lonely, being socially isolated, is another risk factor for cognitive impairment. By being here today, you're all doing something good for your brains. Managing your stress. There is a whole cascade of stress hormones that are in the body when we're stressed that we've come to learn also have a negative effect on your brain. So doing what you can to maintain lower levels of stress, good thing. Avoiding harmful substances. Heavy alcohol use, directly neurotoxic, kills cells in your brain. We've also come to understand over the last couple of years, this might be unfortunate news to some of you, even moderate alcohol use may not be helpful to your brain health, although that was something that the Mediterranean diet was really promoting, you know, having a glass of red wine at 5 o'clock every day. Unfortunately, now that's kind of off the Mediterranean diet. And lastly, managing your chronic health conditions. I said earlier that by managing your cholesterol level, your hypertension, your cardiovascular disease, you're going to be doing good things for your brain. Whatever is good for your heart is also good for your brain. So paying close attention, staying in close touch with your doctor, following through on their recommendations, adhering to your medications that you've been prescribed, all of those things are doing good things for your body and your heart. They're also doing the good things for your brain. There are many, many resources out in the community to help you learn more about brain health. Much of what I've talked about today and much of what the science is telling us is not new. We know what we need to be doing. You need to commit to it, and that will be good for your brain. As I said, it's never too late to start, and it's never too late to experience the benefits of the strategies that I talked about today. Thanks for your time. I'll see you hopefully downstairs for coffee.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carpenter, for sharing your knowledge with us, and we look forward to getting to know you better. All right, the Ethical Society of St. Louis is sustained by our members and friends who share their time, talents, resources, and care in service of something larger than themselves. Everything that happens here, from Sunday platforms and youth education to music, community care, and social action, is made possible by people who invest in this community and its mission. Our welcome team will now take up a collection to support programs that help us think deeply, act ethically, and build meaningful relationships with one another and the wider world. If you're visiting with us today, please know that your presence is enough of a gift. We are grateful that you're here. And now we have just a couple of announcements. The Building and Grounds team has a meeting today. You are warmly invited to join us for our Building and Grounds team meeting, a friendly chance to talk together about the needs and plans for our building and grounds. Stay informed, share ideas, and help care well for the space we all use and appreciate. The meeting will take place today at 12:30 in the boardroom, which is just down the hallway out here, kind of through the office in the corner. All right, and then we have a member announcement from Jim Rhodes. He has a couple of announcements. The first one is that the Social Justice Book Club will be showing the Oscar-nominated documentary film, The Alabama Solution, which is about prison conditions in Alabama, in the Hankey Room on July 28th, starting at 4:30. The Social Justice Book Group will follow that film presentation. The second announcement from Jim is that he and his wife live right by the Union Pacific Railroad tracks in Webster Groves, and the famous Big Boy steam locomotive will be coming by their house sometime around 10 a.m. tomorrow. And if anyone wants to come by and see it, to let Jim know, and he is here. All right. And now finally, please welcome Katera back for Phoenix Rising, an autobiographical song about reclaiming your power, embracing healing, and rising into your fullest self.
Gazes back like she knows all things. Gotta find a way to fly. Realize the worth within these eyes. I'm not afraid to be free. Go where I want, where I want to be. I'm not afraid to fly. Born with the right to know what I feel. I want to go, I want to be. I want to go, I want to be. I found a way to fly. Whether the world is wrong or right, I clip my wings to blend it right. Left on the side where moon is the light. Was an outsider's dream to go with the way carried me, but I wanna go, I wanna be, I wanna go. Can we and I wanna see that place. I just wanna be what I wanna be, real free, real free. Let it be today. I just wanna be who I'm supposed to be. Not afraid to be who I really am, the only true me. I'm catch my face in the mirror, clearer days ahead of me, so I see no tears on my face. Kissed by the sun, the warmest of days. I finally go where I'm meant to be. Ashes to ashes, but the new me. Finally go where I'm meant to be. Ashes to ashes, but the new me. Finally go where I'm meant to be. Ashes to ashes, but the new me. Finally go where I'm meant to be. Ashes to ashes, but the new me. Yeah, 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 yeah. Can we fly? Can we fly?
Thank you, Katera, for giving voice to the deeply human work of becoming through your music. What a way to go into a new week. Thank you. Thank you, Holly, for reading our core values today. And thank you, Dr. Brian Carpenter, for helping us better understand one of the most remarkable parts of being human and reminding us that caring for our brains is a lifelong practice. This morning's music invited us on a journey of becoming, finding our voice, releasing old versions of ourselves, and rising with renewed purpose. Today's platform offered the science behind transformation, reminding us that our brains are not fixed, but continually shaped by our experiences, our relationships, and the choices we make each day. Together, they offer a hopeful message that growth remains possible throughout our lives. And thank you all for joining us today. After platform, we invite everyone downstairs for coffee, conversation, and community. And thank you to Dr. Carpenter for being willing to join us. If you're visiting with us today, we'd love to meet you. Please stop by the visitor table downstairs to say hello, ask questions, and learn more about our community. As you move into the week ahead, may you embrace opportunities to learn, to heal, and to grow. May you care for your mind, nurture your relationships, and remember that every step toward becoming your best self also strengthens the communities we built together. Thank you for being here this morning, and have a wonderful week.